I'm very pleased to have been asked to actually come forward and actually talk about beauty as we've known it a little bit in our industry. And over the time, over many, many years, in fact, over the centuries, beauty has had sometimes a little bit of a negative connotation, more on a facadal level. But when we really understand what real beauty is, and even when it comes to how we assist with our beauty and the health and well-being of our skin, it actually can make a real big difference. So I just want to start off by actually walking through beauty of the ages, just to put this into a little bit of context to bring us up to where we are here now today. So if we just have a quick look at where beauty started, and if you think about some of the comments or some of the leading people at a certain time, and thank you for bringing my tiny ball up. We better grab this before it rolls away and kills half the crowd. But basically, beauty has been around for civilizations for thousands and thousands of years. It's been used in religious rituals. It's been used for beautification. It's been used by aristocracy, royals. But it's really actually led up to a certain point now where those things may be changing. So if we have a look over the years, from ancient Egypt to ancient Greece to Japan and even in China, and then in the Renaissance in Italy. We can go to the 18th century France, through to the Edwardian era. And if you have a look at a lot of the things that were used to, in the eyes of the people at that time, to beautify, quite often they were maybe also contributing to people's health decline in many areas. So even though it was beautiful potentially on the eye based upon the culture at the time, the underlying factor is it may not have been quite that healthy. Through the Edwardian time and then into the Roaring '20s. And this is where we actually saw a massive, massive change when it came to beauty. Prior to that period, it really was only the wealthy, aristocracy, royalty that actually were having access. Any other aspects of beauty was people compromising. Like if you wanted red lips, you would use the dregs from the red wine that you were making. Many of the people, and then when you looked at it, it was a lot of artists or actors who were actually using the beauty products at that time. But in the 1920s, we saw the formation of, well, really women's liberation really started to take a massive move forward. But then we saw Max Factor, Maybelline, and we saw people actually start to mass produce products for the actual beauty industry. And in that time was also the start of the film industry. And during the film industry, it started to evoke a passion amongst all of us that when we saw something that looked really good and beautiful in theatre or on the film, we would try to emulate that in some way. And that went through also to the golden age of Hollywood. So when you look at it, and then you look at companies like a L'Oreal or an Estee Lauder, and those companies, Helena Rubinstein, there was a whole number of companies that started to actually mass produce so people could try to emulate or mirror what they were seeing in these movies. Then we saw through the 60s, the 80s, through the goth era, to where we are actually today. And what does it mean where we are actually today? We're at a very interesting time in history where people are looking for more of an individualized, personalized, and bespoke experience. And we've got this massive industry. If we're looking at the $3.7 trillion, beauty as we know it is close to $1 trillion. So it's in the high 20%. It's very, very significant. The reason why it's even more significant for us now, where we are, being in wellness, being in spa, is there's a massive challenge with this $1 trillion. The big companies are having a lot of difficulty with the people today and where the people are going. It's not quite so easy to manipulate people. It's not so easy to put people in a box where we can have a marketing outcome predetermined on how we can actually position the market. We've got people who want individualization, personalization, and a bespoke experience. What does that mean when you're a large company and you're trying to scale? It makes it extremely difficult. I know for a fact, after speaking to many thought leaders and people who are consulting for some of these big companies at the moment, and they really don't know where to go. In fact, if you have a look at a lot of them, they're starting to acquire smaller companies in many instances to try to position themselves accordingly, because they don't know what to do about it. And they are like the Titanic. It's very hard to change direction. So with this opportunity, it's a huge opportunity for the spa industry. Because where else can you get the individualization, the personalization, and a more bespoke experience? And when you think about it, and sorry, Andrew, but this ball is 10 times the size of the spa industry. There's a lot of opportunity and potentially a lot of money being left on the table. Let's have a look at this. And what does that beauty and anti-aging industry, what is it made up of? What we're seeing now is people still want results, and they still want results quickly. But if given a choice between invasive and non-invasive, they will always choose non-invasive if there is all other things are equal. So what we've got here is we've got natural, we've got synthetic, we've got anti-aging, we've got makeup, we've got devices, we've got inner health, nutrition. There's all these factors which are now contributing to where we are and what we actually see is this $999 billion business today. But this is where, once again, this opportunity comes. So where does that intersect with wellness? Where does beauty intersect? The reality is, in many instances, the beauty industry has probably preyed more off of fear and cashed in on that in many, many instances. There is a genuine need for healthy products which help make you feel beautiful. But the reality is, beauty starts on the inside. And it doesn't matter how beautiful you make yourself on the outside. If you're not beautiful on the inside, you're going to continue to chase something and never find it. It's extremely hard. Claudia referred to that. I think all of us can resonate in some way. So we have this phenomenon where if we keep on chasing and trying to be someone that we're not, all we've got to do is start to be who we are, living our best life now, and being beautiful on the inside. It will come to the outside. It doesn't matter, whatever we are on the inside always comes to the outside. Sometimes it takes a long time, but it will eventually come there. So one of my closing comments, and just wanted to leave this with you, is I think one of the challenges now for the beauty industry over this next 5 to 10 years is how do we actually help people feel comfortable in their own skin. We, through science, can tie all this together and really help people understand the impact of beauty on our health and well-being. But I think our real challenge is how do we help all of us look into the mirror and not be so worried about necessarily what's looking back. I think one of the greatest challenges is how can we look into the mirror so we feel so good that we can look beyond the mirror and start to look towards the horizon. Thank you very much.